Love is complicated in real life and in comics because for a medium built on gods, monsters, cosmic wars, and multiversal nonsense, comic books have always been quietly obsessed with romance. Not the Hallmark version, not the rom-com montage. I'm talking about messy love, doomed love, long distance love across galaxies, love that survives death, timelines, reboots, editorial mandates, and sometimes doesn't. And with Valentine's Day coming up, this felt like the perfect time to talk about the best romantic comics you can actually read right now. Stories that hit harder than chocolates, last longer than roses, and leave emotional bruises you'll thank them for. Because the best comic book romances, they don't just make you feel something, they mean something. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Movement Radio. I am Chip Hazard, and if you're new here, this is the channel where we don't just talk about what happens in comics, we talk about why they matter. And today we're going to dive headfirst into romance, not as a gimmick, not as a genre afterthought, but as one of the most powerful storytelling engine comics has ever had. And yeah, no. Some of you are thinking, romance comics? Really? Well, just stick with me because by the end of this episode, I promise you'll have at least one book you need to read, whether you're single, coupled up, happily married, or emotionally destroyed by fictional characters, just like the rest of us. Here's the thing people forget. Romance has been baked into comics since the very beginning. Before superheroes dominated the racks, romance comics were selling millions of copies. These stories weren't about punching villains, they were about longing, heartbreak, timing, sacrifice. Superheroes didn't replace romance, they just disguised it. Because Spider-Man isn't just about responsibility, it's also about loving someone you can never fully protect. Batman isn't just about trauma, it's about pushing love away because it hurts too much to lose it again. The X-Men, that's not just found family, that's forbidden love, emotional isolation, and relationships shaped by fear and difference. Romance is the emotional spine of comics, whether publishers admit it or not. So let's talk about the stories that lean into that truth, the ones that don't flinch, the ones that hurt in the best way. And I'd like to start somewhere grounded, somewhere painfully human. Blankets by Craig Thompson. No capes, no powers, no villains. And that's exactly why it hits so hard. Blankets is about first love, real first love. The kind that feels like the entire universe is opening up and closing in at the same time. It's about religion, distance, growing up, loving someone at the exact wrong moment in your life. This isn't a will they, won't they story. It's a we do and now what story. It's quiet, it's slow, it lingers. And if you've ever had a relationship that shaped you, even though it didn't last, this book will absolutely wreck you. If you've ever said comics can't be literature, hand someone blankets and walk away. Now, let's talk about long form romance, the kind that unfolds over years. Love and Rockets. If you know, you know. The Hernandez brothers didn't just tell love stories, they chronicled lives. Maggie, Hopi, Ray, the messy entanglements, the breakups, the reunions. Love and Rockets understands something most romance stories don't. Love changes as you change. It evolves, it matures, it disappoints, it surprises you decades later. This isn't about happily ever after. It's about who you become because of someone else. and that's infinitely more interesting. Now let's swing in a slightly different direction because romance doesn't always have to be soft. Sometimes it's chaotic, sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's emotionally immature and painfully self-aware. We're going to talk about Scott Pilgrim. On the surface, goofy, X's as boss fights, video game logic. Underneath, it's about emotional accountability. It's about realizing that being nice isn't the same thing as being good. Scott Pilgrim is a romantic story about earning love, not being entitled to it. And Ramona Flowers isn't a trophy. She's a person with baggage, agency, and scars. If you've ever had to unlearn bad relationship habits, this book will call you out. Now let's talk about love that's intimate, vulnerable, and unapologetically adult. Sunstone. And yes, I know what some of you thinking, but stick with me. Sunstone isn't about shock value. It's about trust. It's about communication. It's about two people negotiating boundaries, desires, fears, and emotional honesty in a way most mainstream romances never dare to explore. Underneath the kink is something incredibly sincere. Two adults learning how to be vulnerable without shame, and that's romantic as hell. You want a romance that balances heartbreak, suspense, and decades spanning drama? Check out Strangers in Paradise. Catch you, Francine, David. This book is a roller coaster. It's crime, it's obsession, it's longing, it's self destruction, it's second chances. Strangers in Paradise understands that love, it's not always clean. Sometimes it's tangled in trauma. Sometimes it's complicated by past mistakes. But what makes it unforgettable is how deeply it invests you in these characters. You don't just read their love story, you live with it. Now let's go cosmic. Saga. If you haven't read Saga yet, what are you doing? Alana and Marco, they're not fairy tale lovers. They argue, they mess up, they fail each other, but they choose each other again and again. Saga understands something crucial. Love, it's not the absence of conflict. Love is what you fight through conflict for. And if you've read far enough, you know how real that pain gets. Now let's throw in a couple of superheroes. Because, yes, they absolutely belong in this conversation. And I want to start with one of the most enduring romances in comic history, Superman and Lois. At its best, this isn't just iconic, it's aspirational. Lois doesn't love Clark because he can lift planets. She loves him because he's kind, because he listens, and because he believes in people. And Clark, he doesn't love Lois because she needs saving. He loves her because she doesn't. From All Star Superman to Superman and Lois to the Rebirth era, when this relationship is written well, it represents partnership, equality, mutual respect. It's not dramatic for drama's sake, it's stable. And in comics, stability is radical. Now, let's get a little unsettling. Vision by Tom King. This it's not a love story about passion. It's about the desire for normalcy. Vision creates a family because he wants connection, routine, belonging. And what follows is one of the most haunting meditations on love Marvel has ever published. This book asks, can you manufacture love? And if you try, what breaks first? This is romance filtered through existential dread, and it's unforgettable. Now, before we wrap up, there's one more I need to mention. Daytripper. This book, it's not just about romance, it's about life. Each issue explores a different possible ending to one man's life. And woven through all of them is love, romantic love, family love, love for art, love for meaning. Daytripper doesn't ask whether love lasts forever, it asks whether it was enough while it lasted. And that question stays with you long after you close the book. So here's the takeaway: romance comics, they're not niche, they're not filler, they're the emotional backbone of this medium. Because when the punching stops, when the powers fade, what's left is connection. And connection might be the most powerful thing comics have ever given us. So I have to ask, what's your favorite comic book couple? Not the obvious one, the one that actually got you, the one that stuck with you years later. Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to see what relationships meant something to you. And if you're looking for something different this Valentine's Day, skip the cliches. Pick up a comic that makes you feel something real. If you enjoyed this episode, hit that like button. It actually helps more than you know. Subscribe if you want more deep dive comic conversations where we don't just talk about what happens, we talk about why it matters. And until next time, I am Chip Hazard. This is Movement Radio. Stay nerdy.